did you foresee the kind of person that you would have, in Eddie Kingston at AEW?
Yes, pretty quickly. I connected with Eddie Kingston immediately. I'm a very, very close friend of mine, and I didn't know him until he came in. But I connected with him very quickly and tried to find a spot for him right away too. If you remember, he debuted against Cody, and it was a great match. And it was when Cody was the TNT champion, and we did the open challenge. And Cody came to me with a list of people when he wanted to do the open challenge, and there were a bunch of really good names on it. And the names I think a lot of the people on the list I did end up wanting to use, and then I had some names of my own. But two names he had that he really wanted to work with that have been great were Ricky Starks and Eddie Kingston. And I felt really strongly about them both after they had the match with him too, and he did a great job in the matches with them, and they both did a great job in the matches with him. And in both cases, I had something for them. Now, in Ricky's case, it was right when he was in the ring. I knew I wanted to use both of these guys on Dynamite, and in the pandemic era, when stars like this came, across your desk, you really wanted to hold on to them. So, Ricky, I immediately knew I was going to do the Team Taz thing with, and I actually called Mox at his house and told him I had found a guy that for us to do this with, and he hadn't really seen Rico, and I told him to trust me, and he did. And then he came over, brought Rico over, and he was like, "You were totally right. Now let me go back to Eddie, and I'll talk about Eddie for a really long time." So Eddie, I didn't have that for. I knew I had to do something with this guy. What a massive talent. And Cody and Eddie had such a great match, and I found a unique opportunity because at Fyter Fest last year, Young Bucks and FTR were teaming, and it was an unlikely partnership, and they teamed against the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade, which was also kind of a unique team in an 8-man tag match at Fyter Fest 2020. And the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers won. And I felt like I had to do something with that because I was like, they beat the Young Bucks and FTR. That's a huge win. And I really want to follow up on it. And I also really want to use these guys. And I'll be honest now, because it was a year and a half ago and it's in the past, like I was, not as deep on the heel side then. And I really wanted to make a go with these guys. And I decided to bring Eddie back as their wrestler and as a manager. And Eddie's a huge fan of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. And I'm a huge fan of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, a huge fan. And he's an inspiration to Eddie. And I told Eddie, this is your chance to kind of be the Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert of this stable. You're a wrestler and you're a manager. And you'll be the manager for these guys who do a lot of the talking. And that's where the connection with Eddie and, of course, the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade began. And then going into All Out 2020, the build, if you remember, was kind of a unique heel-heel build. And some people say heel-heel doesn't always work. I think one of the best examples when I was a kid would be the Horsemen versus the Midnight Express, Arn and Tully versus the Midnight Express. Which was a program that had never really got going as much as it could have. It was really drawing money, and then all of a sudden Arn and Tully were gone and became the Brainbusters. That was a great program, and I always thought there was something to it. So we did this where I had a heel situation, basically, where it was Jake the Snake and Lance Archer. It was Team Taz, the aforementioned Starks and Brian Cage and with Taz, and then this Eddie Kingston group. And then it would always look like it was about to tee off between the three sides of heels. And then Darby would show up, and Darby had this beef with Team Taz, and he would go crazy, and it would all set off, and it was leading to the Casino Battle Royale. Well, I felt really strong, and Eddie had just gotten to the company, and I had the last two guys out there be Lance Archer and Eddie Kingston, and it was this disputed finish in the end, which wasn't even exactly the way Eddie went through the ropes, wasn't even exactly how we originally laid it out, but it actually worked out even better. And I had earmarked Eddie to wrestle Jon Moxley, and that's why I wanted him to be out there and be him and Lance to be the last two guys, because they were the two guys I saw as great opponents for Jon. And then Lance, of course, as he said, he was like, he never expected anything to happen. We were all being very careful in a bubble, and then he went to the veterinarian, and next thing you knew, he had COVID. And it worked out well because Lance and Jon Moxley eventually got to do their matches, and that built a great rivalry, including the Texas Death Match. But in the moment, it was Eddie's time, and Eddie had this great match with Jon Moxley, and it really built something great. And then they had a real rivalry, and we were able to do, a pay-per-view story, building to Full Gear last year. And Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston was main event of Full Gear last year for the world title. And Eddie Kingston's been a huge part of the company. Now, so that's the yes to your question. And now to the no, I mean, Eddie's, I knew the hardcore fans loved Eddie, and I also had seen that he'd crossed over to a mainstream audience, and this was a person you could push on national television to the main event wrestler. But I don't want to undersell how far he's come in the past year or two, and also how far he's come outside of the ring. Because I knew Eddie had some struggles, but getting to know him more in the past year, I've learned more and more about it and how far he's come. And the people who knew him before I did tell me, like, you wouldn't believe how far Eddie's come, like, if you knew him back then. So, yes and no, but as a wrestler, really, since he got here, I've always believed in him, and I'm not surprised at all how well he's done. And I absolutely believed in him to put him in, on a pay-per-view in such a critical position in one of the biggest matches of the year, Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for the write-in question there, Mark. Stephanie Chase from Digital Spy is next, and Stephanie will be followed by Jim Barcelone from the Miami Herald. Steph?
Hi, Tony. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.